What's up, everybody? This is Gary Owen. Get some.
Another buddy called me when Barack won. He's like, Gary, man, I'm so glad Barack won, but I'm so happy Michelle's back in office. And I will say this about Michelle Obama, just in my opinion, I think she's the prettiest first lady this country's ever had, because she is easy on the eyes. Woo! You ever see Martha Washington? Man! We have stepped up in first ladies. But like my buddy called me, he's like, Gary, man, I'm so glad Michelle's our first lady, because she is a ride-or-die chick. I said, why you say that? He go, because she got with Barack after college. We didn't have no job and no money. I said, dude, let's put it into perspective, okay? Barack graduated Harvard Law. He was gonna get a job somewhere, okay? Somebody was gonna hire his ass. It's not like Michelle married James, University of Phoenix. That's a ride-or-die chick. That's somebody that saw something in James that nobody saw. I think you could be president, James. You think I could do it? You could do that shit. I'm gonna do it, Michelle. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get my master's from Everest. We going to the top, baby. We going to the top of Everest. You do that shit, James.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Gary Owen with the Get Some podcast. If you want to share this with friends, you can go to youtube.com/GaryOwenCom or go to iTunes, search Gary Owen or United We Cast, and just find it. It's a funny podcast because I'm on it. I've had an interesting week, to say the least. This is one of those weeks where I always say in the entertainment business, when people come up to me, up-and-coming comics, and say, what do I got to do to make it, man? What do I got to do? And can you put me on and stuff? I'm like, if you ask 100 comics how they quote-unquote made it, they'll give you 100 different stories. This week for me was... It was nuts because I'm in LA and I had some meetings, and I go there to watch the taping of Def Comedy Jam. They're bringing it back in December, and I'm in the audience, and Tony Rock's on stage. He's the new host, and he starts talking about interracial dating, and he goes, "There's a white guy right there." He goes, "Oh shit, Gary Owen, what's up, man?" I said, "What's up?" He said, "When did I tape Def Jam?" I said, "I've never done it." He said, "You never been on Def Jam?" He goes, "You never been on HBO?" I was like, "No, I never. I've been on every other network." And then I literally came out of the audience and did a set. Like, I think I did 10 to 12 minutes. They'll edit it down to 7. And I just winged it on stage. And it was funny because afterwards, then I had to fill out all this paperwork. And I'm calling my manager like, I might have fucked up. But I always say there's a reason I don't go to comedy shows or concerts is because there's something about when you're in the entertainment business and you see a microphone and a stage and a captive audience, you want to get on that stage. I've never done drugs. I said laughter and being on stage is my drug of choice. And that it happened. I wasn't thinking about the money. I wasn't thinking about my career. I just saw an audience. And Tony called me out, and the audience stood up like, oh, like they hyped me up. And I got on the stage. And then literally, so afterwards, I had to get all the paperwork done and make sure this was on the up and up. And it was. I mean, there was no negotiating. I'm not getting a lot of money for it. but it's almost like this year I've done a couple things for my bucket list. Earlier this year, I taped Showtime at the Apollo, and I never did that before. And then now I've done Def Jam. Never did that before. And so a lot of what I found out, too, about this business is I just had a comedy special come out last month called I Got My Associates on Showtime. If you got Showtime on demand, it's on there right now. But I have a new hour ready to go. And a lot of networks won't touch me right now for another 8-9 months because they don't want comedy specials coming out back to back. They like to space them out, which makes sense. So I'm sitting here, it almost was a perfect time to do Def Jam because I got about a good 10, 15 minutes on current events that aren't going to be current or as current in 9 months. It was perfect timing for me to do, 10 minutes that I can just basically, quote unquote, burn. And then they called me yesterday and said, after watching all the comics and it's only 6 episodes they're doing this year of Def Jam, but they said, yeah, after watching your set and that, it's going to be the first episode. Like, that's going to kick off Def Jam. So, and it always was like a sore spot for me that I never did Def Jam because when Def Jam first came on in the early 90s, I was in high school and then I was in the military. I wasn't doing stand-up then. Then it came back about 10, 11 years ago. And I really wanted to do it. And I auditioned in Cincinnati. And I don't know, they said no. Then I went and hosted the auditions in Columbus. So I just thought it was a gimme. I was going to get it, and I didn't get it. And it's always been a sore spot for me. Like, God, I never did Def Jam. So it was like a bucket list thing for me that I got on, and I did well. And I hate sounding cocky. I did really well. It was one of those nights. And then I was in Phoenix over the weekend. Friday, I'm in my hotel room. I get a phone call to do a movie, and I had to fly out to Atlanta on Monday to start shooting this movie. It's if anybody saw Meet the Blacks, it was in the theaters, but it's on Netflix right now. Mike Epps was in it. I was in it. Lil Duval's in it. Brescia Webb's in it. But anyways, they said they're doing a sequel, and the thing was, in the first one, I died. So I figured I'm not coming back for the sequel. Well, the second one isn't nearly the same as the first one. It's loosely based on it, but they were able to bring me to have me come in and play a completely different character. I play a paraplegic ex-military vet who's nuts, and I live across the street from Mike Epps. And next door, Cat Williams moves in, and Cat is a vampire, and chaos ensues from there. But it's very much like it's like a Blackula meets the Lost Boys type deal. But it should be good. But we did the table read. Monday we started filming. Tuesday I came in for the first day of shooting, and I come back November 1st to finish up the last week of filming. But it's just one of those. I went to LA for some meetings, and I was going to Phoenix to perform. And next thing I know, I got on Def Jam and I got in a movie. It's just one of those days. Like entertainment business, you never know. You can get that phone call tomorrow. I think looking back on my career, the most unexpected movie I ever got was a movie called College that nobody saw, by the way. And even though it's a good movie, it didn't do well at the box office. I think week one, we were number 11. That's not very good. But it was a funny movie. It was a funny movie. And I'll never forget, I auditioned for that movie. It was 2006, and the Bengals were playing the Ravens on Thursday Night Football. And I was on my way to the game, and my agent called me and was like, hey, I want you to audition for this movie called College. So I literally called my buddy who has camera equipment, and I said, yo, can you get me on tape real quick? Because this was pre iPhone era. So he was like, yeah, come by. So I stopped by his house. I gave him $50. He did my audition. We went over it. I got to the game late, and everybody's like, well, where are you? Like people I was tailgating with. And I was just like, I had this audition real quick. And that was in November that I did the audition. And then it was funny because February I get a phone call, and I'm getting ready to get on a plane in Indianapolis. I'll never forget. And we got snowed in. So I boarded the plane, and then everybody had to get off the plane, and we were snowed in. And I just remember the airport was not chaos, but a lot of upset people because we couldn't go anywhere. We were stuck at the airport. And my agent called, and she was like, hey, Gary, we got an offer for you for College. And I'm like, which one? I'm thinking it's a stand-up date. They go, College. I go, I know, which one? They go, the movie. I said, what are you talking about? They go, the movie you auditioned for. I said, 3 months ago? So here I am. Everyone's in the Indianapolis airport depressed, and I'm like on cloud nine. I remember the only thing open was a Subway. That was the best Subway sandwich I ever ate. I was just like this. Just let me know when the flight can leave. 2 days, 3 days. I'll just be here in the corner curled up. I'm good. So that was the most unexpected movie I ever got. But this week was just a cool week. Now, on a downer note, I'm in Atlanta open night of the NBA season. And I go, Terrence J called me up, Lil Rel called me up. We all meet up at this spot to eat and have some drinks and watch the NBA season. And it was funny. We were in a room with about 20 people, and it was divided down the middle. It was about 10 Celtics fans, 10 Cavs fans. And I'm not even going to say 10 Cavs fans. Some people just don't like LeBron. That's what I know. Because Lil Rel is a funny dude, and I like him a lot. But he was... he just did a movie called Uncle Drew with Kyrie Irving. So, of course, he is like all about Kyrie. And I'm the same way. When I mean athlete and they're cool and you work with them, you just start rooting for them. So he was all about that. Oh, but man, that Gordon Hayward injury just took the sails out of everybody because it was starting to get intense. You could tell it was going to be a chippy game. And when he went down, I noticed immediately, I said, your body's not supposed to move like that. And then I said, I thought his shoe fell off. I said, oh, his shoe came off the way his ankle was played. But then when you saw the Cavs bench just go, oh, the only other time two times I've seen a bench react like that was Sean Livingston when he was with the Clippers. That was gruesome. And then I think it was Kevin Ware from Louisville. When his leg literally, his bone was outside of the skin. That was the worst I'd ever seen. It's unfortunate. I just can't even imagine 5 minutes in to the new contract. And you feel bad for Gordon Hayward, but you really feel bad for Boston Celtics fans. Because anywhere else in the country, it's the Cavs are the favorite. And everyone, I think, really believes the Cavs are going to the finals again, except in Boston. Those fans, that's the best team they've had since KG, Paul Pierce, and Ray Allen came the first year. They're deep. They're good. They got an all-star point guard. They had an all-star forward, all-star center. They're just, it's so disheartening. And then to top it off, he was a white guy. Come on. Listen, we don't have that many great white American players. So he was it. Okay. Guess a lot of white guys are going to pull for Porzingis. I guess that's where we're at. Or J.J. Redick. Or we'll see how Luke Kennard's going to do in the NBA this year. I'm going to be rooting for him I'm going to be rooting for this guy, Luke Kennard, from afar. Because where I live in Ohio, Luke Kennard, if you don't know who he is, he played at Duke. And he was the first-round pick of the Detroit Pistons. He's a rookie. He's a white dude. But I remember in high school hearing about him. And he went to this small-town school called Franklin's, the Franklin Wildcats. They were actually my high school's rival in high school. And it's just, they already got I think a street named after him. When you pull into Franklin, it says hometown of Luke Kennard. Because nobody's ever come out of there to play basketball like him. And now he's in the NBA with the Pistons. So it's the closest thing I've ever seen to Jimmy Chitwood from the movie Hoosiers. His senior year of high school, they played a school called Dayton Dunbar. They're just a powerhouse school. And it was an interesting game because Dayton Dunbar is an inner city high school, all black. And then Franklin's all white, country guys. And if you would have saw them warming up, you would have been like, okay, this is going to be a blowout. Dayton Dunbar clearly had the better team. But Franklin clearly had the best player, which is Luke Kennard. And he went for like 42, and Franklin lost in overtime. And it's just funny because if I go to games like that, I like to sit way up high so I could see the fans' reaction in the court. And it was just funny because you had all these rednecks on one side and all these black people on the other. It was just like, it was almost like a Trump versus Barack Obama rally. Like if Trump would have ran against Barack, that's what it looked like. It's just funny to see because, inner city black high schools are great. Just the fans and the cheerleaders and the cheers they come up with and the dances. And then the redneck schools are just, let's go team. It's funny when the redneck schools play the all black schools, they cheer extra hard. They go really hard. And don't let a white guy dunk. Don't let that happen. Those white dudes will go crazy. They go bananas. But I'm be rooting for Luke from afar. I hope Gordon Hayward gets better. But if you was going to ask me before the season, even if Hayward was healthy, I still think it's Celtics and Golden State. And then here goes Golden State. They lose to Houston game 1. But I still think when it comes to playoff time, they're gonna start putting it on them. And since it is the beginning of the season, I predicted as soon as he got drafted, Dennis Smith from Dallas to be Rookie of the Year. But I completely forgot about Ben Simmons from Philly. Like, he is eligible to be Rookie of the Year because he was hurt all year. So I still think Dennis Smith's going to be Rookie of the Year, but Ben Simmons is going to ball this year. He's going to ball. If I'm a Boston fan, I look to him. I look to other guys that have sat out a year. And good thing is it was just bones. It wasn't like tendons and anything like that or ACLs. And the way surgery has come along and medicine in the last 10, 15 years, guys come back quick from those injuries. I had ACL reconstruction back in 95. I'll never forget. I had my ACL reconstructed the day OJ drove the Bronco. I'll never forget as long as I live because I was in the hospital. I was in the military, and I tore my ACL, and they set a surgery date, and I went in, and I was coming out of anesthesia, and they said, do you want to go under for a little bit more? And I was like, what time is it? And let's say they said 4 o'clock. I was like, no. Knicks play at 5. It was the Knicks versus Rockets. It was Olajuwon and Ewing, and I was a huge Patrick Ewing fan. That was my guy back in the day. And I just wanted them to win that year, and there was no cable. There wasn't NBA TV. We had 5 channels in my military hospital room. And so I come out of anesthesia, and I'm watching this game, and all of a sudden, OJ driving the Bronco, and I thought they were just going to it for a minute. No. I missed the whole game. And there's no iPhones. There's no internet. I didn't know who won. It was literally like the next day the paper came. That's how I found out. I had to wait till the next day because keep in mind I'm coming in and out of anesthesia, so I'm not coherent. So I'm falling asleep, then I'm waking up, and I was like, I remember waking up, going, this motherfucker's still driving. How long is this highway? So I'll never forget. I had my ACL reconstruction surgery the day OJ was in the Bronco with Al Cowens. I'll never forget as long as I live. And I was so mad. And the next morning, I got a paper, and that's when I found out, the Knicks won. They ended up winning that game. I think it was game 5. They ended up losing the series, but they won that game. I'll never forget that as long as I live. And it was funny because when you're in the military and you have surgery, like I had to be at the hospital at 4 a.m, couldn't eat anything the night before, and I went into surgery at like 7. So you just sit in a room with a bunch of other military guys that are all going in for various surgeries that day. And a lot of them have their wives or their girlfriends and everything. I was like 20. I didn't have anybody. I drove myself to the hospital, and I parked in the parking lot, and I went into surgery. I came out. I was in the hospital for 2 or 3 days, had my ACL reconstruction, and then I drove myself home. You're not supposed to drive yourself home 2-3 days after having an ACL reconstruction, by the way. The guy literally wheeled me to my car. I'm still on meds. Like, I don't remember the drive home. I had an Oldsmobile Cutlass. I'll never forget it. A 1985 Oldsmobile Cutlass. White walls. You would have thought I was a pimp in that car. Drove my ass back to my apartment. And then it was funny, when you come out of anesthesia, you're just kind of in a line. They got this whole line of different dudes coming out of different surgeries in a row. And I'm laying there, and I remember the guy is sitting next to me in case I got to throw up or if I need some water or something, because you're not allowed to eat until you pee. And the guy's sitting there, and I'm just kind of talking to him, and I'm drinking water, and then I go, oh man, I think I'm gonna throw up. And then he puts like a literal bedpan on me. I said, really? This is what I'm doing? You throw up in a bedpan? Like I'm coming out, hey man, I think I'm gonna throw up. He put that bedpan on my chest, and I went, really? A bedpan? Like, I looked at him, and he started laughing, and it was like out of Forrest Gump, with a stainless steel bedpan. Like, you guys don't have a bowl or a cup or something? A bedpan, motherfucker? So I was fine. Like, me and the guy were talking. I was kind of in and out and everything. And then I'll never forget, there was a Marine that was, I remember I noticed him because he had a black wife. He was a white dude. He had a black wife. And I wasn't married. I was single, but I just noticed them because they were sitting there, and he had a kid, and he had shoulder surgery. And when he came out of anesthesia, he thought he was at war somewhere. He was, get the fuck off me. Who the fuck are you? And he's trying to swing with the other arm that's free because the one shoulder had surgery. It's pinned down. It's done. They literally had 4 people holding him down. Hey, you're just coming out of surgery, man. It's okay. You're just coming out of surgery. And it was the dude sitting next to me that gave me the bedpan. He got my ear, goes, I'm so glad I got you. And then he explained to me, he was like, dude, we don't have a choice. We just wait in line. And it's a numbers game. Like, you just got wheeled out, and it was my turn to take the next person on the cot, basically on the bed. And it was you. Because if I'd have been one person back, because that guy came out of surgery right behind me, I would have got him. So this guy's going nuts, and I'm like, okay, this dude's crazy. Then the hospital room, I didn't have a hospital room to myself. You have to share with somebody. Why do I got to share my room with this dude? Like, so I told him to close my curtain immediately, so I didn't want to deal with him in case I didn't know if he was crazy or not. So I just had my curtain shut the whole time. And the good thing was I was right by the door of the room. People had to walk by me to get to him. So I didn't ever have to see him. I just kept my curtain shut the whole time because I guess a lot of guys open up the curtains because everybody's pretty young in the military. And you start talking. I never talked to him. I was like, I don't want to talk to that dude. I thought he was crazy. I didn't want him to have a flashback with me in the room, think I was somebody. And my point was, as far as these surgeries go, this is what they did with mine. Like, I tore my left ACL. They took my patella tendon out of my right knee and put it in my left. And then come to find out later, you never go into a good knee to repair a bad one. If you got a good knee, you leave it alone. So I'm rehabbing both knees. Like 6-7 years later, I got arthroscopic surgery on my left knee to clean it out and everything. And I went to University of Southern California, the guy that does all the sports medicine over there at the time. And he said, hey, man, who did your knee? I was like, the Navy? He goes, I was going to say Sue. And it was funny when the doctors talk to you because they said, now, as you get older, your knee's going to get progressively worse. And I go, doesn't everybody's? And he didn't lie because now I can't play basketball anymore. I remember I played pickup at Lifetime about 3-4 months ago, half court. My knee was sore for a week. I couldn't do anything. It's like if I play basketball, I got to do hot yoga 3 days before and 3 days after just to make sure I'm nice and loose, just to make sure. Well, that's enough about that. Let's get into football season. For me being a Bengals fan, it's Steeler week, which is it's exciting but scary at the same time because they got our number. They've won 4 in a row against the Bengals. We've lost 4 in a row to them, including that playoff game. This is a big one. And I said I got a feeling the Steelers were going to beat the Chiefs. I just had a feeling. Just when you think everything's going wrong, here they come. But, again, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. But I think the Bengals got a legit shot because that defense is going to keep them in the game. It's in Pittsburgh. The Bengals always play better in Pittsburgh than they do in Cincinnati for some reason. Man, this is a stressful week. And I'm going to be in L.A. this week. This weekend I'm in Ontario, California, the Improv. But I got to go there and perform. And then they moved the game to 4 o'clock. And at first I was like, God damn it, 4 o'clock, I'm going to miss it. Then it hit me, wait a minute. I'm in L.A. It's a 1 o'clock game. I'm straight. I hope it's a nationally televised game because I do not want to be at a sports bar. I'd rather just be in my hotel. I like to hear the announcers. I like to be able to scream and to sit in my drawers and just watch it and sweat and throw pillows at the TV. I'd tell you, the craziest I ever had happen to me was when the Bengals played the Steelers back in 2005 when Carson Palmer got hurt. I was in Kansas City, Missouri. I was in my hotel room, and Carson threw that ball to Chris Henry, and Chris Henry caught it, and I'm like, yes! And then I saw Carson rolling around, and I didn't even see the hit yet. I just saw him rolling around, and I was like, that's not a normal roll. That's when you know in your head something's wrong. And then when I saw the hit, I went, oh, I was throwing pillows against the wall. I was screaming, God damn it, you bitch, you fucking bitch. I'm cussing and everything. Security came to my door and said, where's the girl? I was like, what? And I answered, it was funny. I answered the door. I went from 10 to 1 so fast because I'm like, you motherfuckers are getting down. I'm throwing pillows, and I must have said the word bitch about 30 times in 2 minutes. You fucking bitch. They thought I was hitting a woman. And so a cop is at my door with hotel security, and they said, is there a problem? I said, no, sir. And I'm like real calm now because I'm freaking out. He goes, the cop goes, where's the girl? I said, excuse me? Where's the girl? And I said, there's no girl. He goes, you mind if we come in your room? And I said, yeah. And I come in my room, and there's nothing wrong with my room. I mean, there's a few pillows thrown around, but I'm not trashing the room. I'm not that dude. But they said, we got a phone call about somebody was yelling, and they heard a thump, and then they said they heard a female voice. Somebody had said they heard a female voice. And I was like, I had to tell him, I said, no, man. And I remember it was timing. It was halftime when they showed up. So I hadn't been yelling that long. I'm sure I wasn't yelling just because Carson got hurt. You know, the Bengals had the lead at halftime in that game. So I thought we still had a shot. So I'm probably yelling, yeah, fuck you, Steelers. We don't need Carson. We're fine. You can knock our quarterback out. We're still going to beat you. I'm yelling. It's just a whole array of emotions. Let me tell you something. If somebody had a videotape of me watching a Bengals playoff game, they would think I'm nuts. Like I'd be in a straitjacket taken to a mental institution. I can handle it when I'm in public or at the game, but by myself in a hotel room, you don't want to watch that game with me. So I just remember they literally went through my room. They searched it. One thing I remember was the the hotel security opened a drawer underneath the TV. And I'm like, really? I hit a woman in there. Okay. I remember just thinking, did he just open the drawer of the dresser where the TV's at? That's a really small woman. If I was able to put her, well, I'm a really sick person that just dismembered a woman and there's no blood in my room. I was just like, what the hell? Did he just open the drawer? Sometimes people do things and you don't catch it in the spur of the moment, but then you look back, you're like, that was kind of stupid. Like I did a joke one time with, it's always a joke. My road manager, Brad, I remember he got in before me into a city. He goes, hey, Gary, what time you land? I was like, 3. He goes, o'clock? And I just got quiet. I went, no, man, 3 puppies. I landed 3 puppies. Yeah, 3 o'clock. Well, I mean, what are the 3 is there? What time you land? 3 o'clock? Nah, 3 spiders. I landed 3 spiders. What? But you don't even realize, as soon as he said o'clock, I was like, yeah, 3 o'clock. You don't think about it when he says it, but then when you look back and go, that was stupid. That was stupid for him to say that. I always say, I give my Super Bowl picks every week. There was a lot of devastating injuries this week. I mean, Leonard Fournette, all of a sudden he's looking like the real deal. He's balling out, then he gets hurt. And the Rams returned the opening kickoff, which was a great kickoff return, by the way. And then Leonard Fournette takes the ball, 75 yards, scores a touchdown. The game was 30 seconds in, and it was 7-7. And then Fournette, oh, that was ugly, that injury. But they don't think it's as bad as it looked. And then Aaron Rodgers went down, and that just took. That was a rough one because I'm a huge Aaron Rodgers fan, and if anybody gets a chance to read that article that ESPN, I think it was ESPN the magazine did on him. Yeah, it was ESPN the magazine. Look it up and read it. It's an enlightening article, and I like him even more now as a quarterback because he's just on a quest for knowledge, and he's on a quest to be a good person. Because he said after they won the Super Bowl against the Steelers, he said he was sitting on the bus, and he said, I hope when it's all said and done, this isn't the moment that defines my life, was a Super Bowl victory. I hope I can do more with my life, that it was a part of my life, but it's not the one single thing that defined me. He said a lot of things that I agree with as far as religion goes, and he said, he's really on a quest for knowledge because he said he grew up, a Christian, and he found out those Bible-thumping Christians, and just like the radical Muslims and every religion, when they go at it like we know what happens after you die and nobody else, and it's our way or no way, they're closed-minded. They won't have an open discussion with you. And he said once he was able to get on his own, and he met with a guy who's I don't want to say spiritual advisor, but he came in to talk to the Packers one time, and Aaron really got his number, and they have open discussions about religion and God and faith and afterlife. And he said, the minute I was able to step back and not say I'm a part of any particular religion, like obviously I believe there's a higher power. He's like, I was able to have open discussions with teammates and be a better teammate and talk to guys who doesn't have the same ideologies as me, and I was like, I'm the same way. I don't judge anybody. I don't claim to say I know what happens after we die. This is what I know. There's something going on that our brains can't comprehend because there's a beginning and end to everything except space and time. So when I was going to school, Pluto was the 9th planet. And then I was like, well, what? I remember being like in 7th grade going, well, what's after Pluto? It doesn't just end. What goes on after Pluto? And then when people be like, well, there was Adam and Eve or the Big Bang Theory, I'm like, well, and dinosaurs, I'm like, well, what happened before them? Something happened before them? The Big Bang Theory just happened. Something happened. So there's something going on that our brains can't even try to fight. You'll go crazy. I get a headache trying to think about it. I get a headache. So I remember I used to go to church on Thursdays and Sundays with a buddy of mine. And the only reason I went to church was to get out of my house. I mean, I lived in a trailer with an abusive stepdad. And I was like, I just want to get out. And church, I thought, that's a good way to get out. So I would go to church with this guy, and I'll never forget Thursday night, all the teens would go in a room and they had their teen sermon. And the guy literally the first day goes, I want everybody to raise their hand that believes that Jesus Christ is coming soon. The rapture will be here and the earth's going to end. And everybody raised their hand. My hand never went up. I go, I don't, If Jesus can wait. Jesus can wait till I'm 85. Let me live my life a little bit. Hold on, brother. Have fun. Live a little. My daughter said the same thing. We were in church one time. My daughter was 7 or 8. We have a similar personality. And she even said, they said, you know, who thinks Jesus is coming back? She looked at me and said, Jesus can wait. I'm 8. I don't want to come back and then we're done. Like the earth's just going to end. Let me live a little before Jesus comes back. So, yeah, that Aaron Rodgers article on ESPN, I was like, man, I have so much in common with that dude. And he travels alone, I guess, a lot. Like he's a loner. And I was like, I'm that way. I'm by myself a lot, and I prefer it that way. And to that note, today Chris Rock was on his Instagram. If you got Instagram, then there's Instagram story. It's like these little 10-second videos of your day that day. And Chris Rock was on a private jet by himself, nobody else on the jet. And he was flying to D.C. for shows. And he said, I'm on my jet. I'm by myself. He goes, and I really think all great comics don't need to be around people all the time. He said, because once you get to a certain level, every time you go out in public, you're getting not hounded, but people are stopping you and talking, and you don't have any time to yourself. He goes, so this time on the plane is my time to just be in my own head. And he goes, and it gives me time to work out the material in my head and what did I see today and process information. And I'm like, yeah, because when I have specials or comedy shows, I don't have agreement with a lot of people. I travel with 2 guys, and then they're doing their own thing most of the time. And I like to be by myself. And it's a very quiet, boring green room before my shows. It's nothing like you would think like a rapper. And I think most great comics like that. We just like to be by ourselves in a zone before we hit the stage, whether it's a comedy club or a theater. And as soon as he said that, I go, I'm the same way. I can literally see myself on a private jet by myself, or maybe one person, but there wouldn't be much talking on the flight. There really wouldn't. And just you're in your head. And that's why I think the worst audience for a stand-up would be a bunch of stand-ups, because we don't laugh. We just process the joke. And then we look at it like, oh, I see where he came up with that. Or I didn't see that coming. I remember Jamie Foxx has been in probably about 5, 6 of my shows. Jamie Foxx never laughs. All he does is go like this. Ha! That's it. That's his laugh. You know you got a funny joke with Jamie Foxx when you hear this. Ah! Let's quiet again. That's all he does. It's nothing like a woo! Ho, 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 ho. Jamie Foxx in the audience. Ha! That's it. and you feel like you just crushed when he's in the audience and you get that from him. Even if you're in a room with him and you're telling a story, you're just talking to him. Ha! That's it. All right. Thanks, Jay. Crushed it. Got 3 eyes out of Jamie in 30 minutes. That was good. I got one every 10 minutes. Doing good with Jamie now. But it was funny watching that Chris Rock thing, because I was like, oh, yeah, that is true. Sometimes you follow other people that are in the same industry as you, and you're like, okay, that makes sense. Now I get it. I really think I'm more off stage like Chris Rock than I am like a Kevin Hart or Mike Epps. Like, I know Kevin has his crew with them and he travels with them, and Mike does. And the movie I'm doing right now, Mike Epps is in it, and Cat Williams, and Mike's had the same group of guys for the last 6-7 years at least that I've been on tour with them every now and then. It's the same group. but he's got his crew. But I know Mike. He's funny. He's always got this speaker with him. It's like an old school speaker, and he just plays music in his dressing room. And then we was on set yesterday, and he was playing the music out of it, and it was just that's what he does. That's his thing. Everybody's different, and Kevin's always got his crew with him. Always. I don't know, but I don't think Chris travels with a lot of people. Obviously, he was on a jet by himself, and he'll have his reps there when he gets to D.C. But I was like, okay, that's me. Because if you ever see me at the airport or out, I'm usually by myself. And when I got my guys, I'm always like this. Because my guys were all coming from different cities. My road manager, Brad, lives in Atlanta. My opener, Gene, lives in Fort Lauderdale. And then my other guy, Say, who takes pictures on the road and does website stuff, he lives in Long Beach. So whenever we're going to a city, and not every week all three of them will be there. There might just be two. Usually there's two of them. All the time I got two. Sometimes I have three, but most of the time it's just two of them. So you got one guy coming from Atlanta, or one guy coming from Lauderdale, or one guy coming from Long Beach. And my thing is, one of you have to be there before me to get to rent a car. Because when I land, I need somebody to baggage claim, and then we're rolling when I get there. So when I get my flight, I let them know, and I go, I don't care which one of you do it. And I pay for it. I mean, don't get it wrong. I take care of everything. But I said, I need you guys to get it before I get there. Because I know it sounds bad if you don't know this industry, but I can't be sitting there to rent. I got a show tonight, and there's 5,000 people waiting to see me, and I'm at Avis 2 hours for the show. It's also like, and this is funny too. When I first started doing stand-up, and you go to season and you get rent-a-cars, you get whatever. You get a Cavalier, a Ford Fusion. I don't care. Nobody's gonna see me. Now you have to get an SUV. It is an image you give off, and it's a certain and I get it. Like I couldn't imagine like paying to see Beyonce or paying to see Jay-Z, and they pull up in a Chevy Cavalier. I'm like, really? What are they doing with their money, or what are they doing here? You know what I mean? So for me, that's part of it. It's funny, like the more successful you get, your overhead is more expensive too. Because, people want to know, like, they're coming to see a quote unquote star in their brain, and you're giving off, that's what it's an image. And sometimes it sucks because I'll be like, God, the SUV is like 300 more. But you got to get it. I can't be rolling up in a Cavalier and somebody just paid $40, $50 to see me. They're like, what the fuck? What are you doing with your money? What are you doing with my money? Ugh. He just pulled up in a bucket. Gary's struggling. This fool. I ain't paying to see him again. I tell you what's crazy too, being in the entertainment business is, when I do theater dates, a lot of times we'll put my tickets on Groupon for a day or two. And at first I was like, man, I don't want other people seeing this. And then they're going to look at me like, dang, he ain't selling tickets. And then my agent had to break it down to me. He goes, no, Gary, what it is, you're just giving people a deal for 24 hours. And what it is, it's almost like free advertising. The people that might not know you're coming, then they're like, oh, shit. And then the word gets out. It's like it's almost better than having a radio commercial. You just throw your shit on there for 24 hours, and you will sell a lot of tickets that one day, trust. But then it made sense. I'm like, oh, because I got a New Year's Eve, I'm in Dallas, Texas. I did it last year at the Verizon Theater. I'm doing it this year at the Verizon Theater. And we'll find a day, probably early mid-December, and we'll do Groupon for one day, and it'll just help get the word out. And there'll be about 200-300 people that got great deals on tickets. Is all it is. That's what happens. And when I remember the first time I started doing theaters by myself, and they say, hey, Gary, we want to put you on Groupon for a day. I said, shit, this ain't working out. I'm falling off a little bit. It's like, no. We do this with a lot of people. And then I didn't feel bad because when I went to check it out, it was like the Comedy Get Down was on there. And, there was a lot of singers, a lot of comedians that have it on there for a day or two. And then I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Then I didn't feel so bad. Because at first I was like, God dang it. I didn't want other people talking about me and making fun. Oh, look at Gary selling tickets, motherfucker, on Groupon. But this weekend, I'm in Ontario, California. It's funny, whenever I put up a flyer on my Instagram or anything, I'll put Ontario, and I'll have all these people hit me up on social media from Canada. I've been waiting for you to come. I've been waiting for you to come to the north. I'm like, nope. It's California. And in fact, one of my wife's friends called her and goes, you going to Canada, Gary, this weekend? And my wife called me like, you going to Canada? I was like, no. So my wife almost thought I was pulling a fast one on her. Like, you can't leave the country without me? Nah, babe, come on. I would never do that. So yeah, I'm in Ontario, California. It's basically 35 miles east of LA. If anybody saw next Friday or Friday after next, it's where Rancho Cucamonga area, where Mike moved out with Ice Cube. That area is where I'm performing at this weekend, and I'll be there October 19th to the 22nd. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Saturday's already sold out. We will add a third show Saturday. Usually they wait till Thursday or Friday to add it, and we might add one Sunday. But tickets are flying. So if you want to come see me this weekend in Ontario, I would do it. And then next weekend, I'm in DC at the MGM Grand Casino with Dion Cole. That's already sold out. And I wanted to add a second show, and Dion did, but they just didn't. They said, no, we just want one show, and then we're bringing guys back. Honestly, I'd rather did too. But it's a good feeling to know you're sold out way in advance. This show's been sold out for like a month. That's always a good feeling when you sell out that far. And then the first weekend of November, since I'm on a tangent, I'm in Jacksonville, Florida on November 3rd, and then I'm in Ocala, Florida, November 4th. So I'll be up in Northern Florida, Central Florida, the first week of November. November 3rd, I'm in Jacksonville, Florida at the Florida Theater, and then November 4th, I'm in Ocala. And this is one of those dates where I scheduled it around the bingo schedule because they play the Jacksonville Jaguars on November 5th. And I hope we still have a reason to play. There's nothing worse than trying to be loyal to your squad and make your schedule around them so you can make some games, and then they're terrible. But they're not terrible. We just got to hope we can get by Pittsburgh. That'd be a huge win this week. Huge. Oh, what I didn't do, I didn't give my Super Bowl picks. Every week I give them. If you listen to my first podcast, week 1, I said Dallas and Oakland. I look like a fool right now. Week to week, it changes. Look at Green Bay. I mean, Green Bay was looking like one of the favorites, and now, I think even though Kansas City lost to Pittsburgh, I still say Kansas City is playing the best ball in the AFC. And I think if they end up playing Pittsburgh in the playoffs, I think they'll get them this time. Regardless if it's in Pittsburgh or Kansas City, I just think they'll lock in, and Andy Reid will have them ready to go, and I think they'll take them. You can only beat a team so many times in a row before eventually that number comes up. I still say Kansas City and AFC, and the NFC. I mean, Philly's looking really good, but I still think even though Atlanta lost, I still think I still say Atlanta. Atlanta, if they lose this week, that might change. It's weird. I'm watching them play the Dolphins, and it was almost a replay of the Super Bowl. Like they had a big lead, and they just started passing it. And I was like, God, did you not learn anything from the Super Bowl? Dolphins always do that shit. They always come up and beat somebody that nobody thought they were going to beat. They always do that. So, yeah, I'm still saying Kansas City and Atlanta from what I've seen so far. College football, I haven't touched on it that much, but I'm saying right now, I think Ohio State's going to win it all. And that might be a little homer pick, but that offense is looking dynamic. Dobbins, that tailback is coming into his own. They look really good right now. They dismantled Nebraska over the weekend. Dismantled them. I was like, woo! They look like they're peaking at the right time. Like everything's clicking with them. So, on a side note, I don't even think I mentioned it, but that upset of Iowa State beating Oklahoma 2 weeks ago, I didn't even mention it, but there's a local kid that is the tailback for Iowa State. His name's David Montgomery. And I can't help but root for guys from Cincinnati that ball out. So I'm so happy to see him doing well. If you get a chance to watch Iowa State, look for their tailback, David Montgomery. He's just a sophomore, but the guy's a grown man already. He's a beast. So, anyways, great week. Tape Def Jam, got a movie. This week I'm in Ontario, California at the Improv, and that's it. Nothing crazy happened in society this week. Thank God we're just talking about sports and lighthearted stuff. That's what I would prefer every week. If we could do this podcast without having a natural disaster or some crazy man shooting people in Vegas, and everybody's healthy and having fun and enjoying life. That's what I want. That's all I want every week. All right, y'all. Well, I'll see y'all next week. This is Gary Owen with the Get Some Podcast.